Hi! So, as many of you may know, I've since stopped doing Death Battle prediction videos. In fact, this is my first prediction video in a long time. But I figured since this matchup is such a big one in the community, and me and my friends did something similar for Bowser vs. Eggman, I'd do one more prediction. Heck, who knows? Maybe I'll bring the prediction videos back if y'all like this video enough. Okay, nothing else to do except start talking about Kyle Rayner versus Simone the Digger. Oh, wait, sorry, my bad. Nothing else to do except start talking about Gurren Lagann versus White Lantern. God, that name is very weird to say. Couldn't they at least make it White Lantern versus Gurren Lagann? That way we could shorten it to Kyle versus Simone and not Simone versus Kyle, because that just sounds wrong. Anyway, I'm going to start with Kyle, because funny DC Herald Man line. Go. As a White Lantern, Kyle is effectively the avatar of the emotional spectrum. This gives him an incredibly varied arsenal to use against foes in battle, as not only can he create hard-like constructs of anything with his imagination alone, which he is very proficient in given how creative and artistic he is, but he can also use Lantern-specific abilities. For example, with the powers of a Green Lantern, which was the first ever power Kyle ever got, Kyle can create energy constructs, fire energy blasts, fly, turn invisible, phase through objects, absorb energy, stop and travel through time, heal injuries on the cellular level, communicate with other life forms via a universal translator, alter minds, alter matter, store things in a pocket dimension, and in even rare cases, he can even revive the dead. Though this ability gets better when he becomes a White Lantern. Blue Lanterns, aka my favorite lanterns, can do many of the same things like create energy constructs, fire energy blasts, fly, etc. But they also come with the added ability to boost and overcharge Green Lantern rings, as well as the ability to deplete Yellow rings of their energy, complete protection from Orange Lantern's avarice, and even the ability to calm and heal Red Lanterns from their rage. Speaking of, Red Lanterns allow the user to wield the devastating power of Rage Plasma. This allows Red Lanterns to projectile vomit all over their opponents with plasma that is described as napalm and acid mixed together. They can also infect others with rage and even absorb it, and even warp the psychological state of those who come in contact with the red light of rage. Yellow Lanterns can instill fear into others and even empower themselves using the fear of those around them. Indigo Lanterns are capable of emulating the power of other lanterns they are in close proximity to and can even teleport anywhere in the universe. Violet Lanterns, aka the Star Sapphires, can use the power of love to entrap anyone in crystals made out of, well, love. They also are completely immune to the power of the Orange Lanterns. And the Orange Lanterns are capable of creating Orange Lantern avatars of anyone they have killed. This is because their identities are stolen post-mortem. And finally, we have the White Lanterns themselves. They can do everything I just mentioned, as well as heal others and resurrect the dead. This is due to their connection to life itself. All of these powers allow Kyle to contend with some of the strongest characters in DC, like Kilowog, my goat, who survived a literal retcon to the face and was fine, and the Guardians of the Universe, who could collectively destroy the entire DC multiverse. Hell, at one point, Kyle was trapped inside the Source Wall. It was here where he absorbed the life equation, which is the antithesis to the anti-life equation and the representation of life energy itself. The life equation is so powerful, it is capable of breaking the aforementioned source wall, a barrier that surrounds the entire multiverse and separates reality from the source housed in the void outside of comic panels. It rivals the anti-life equation, and it's even connected directly to the source, the supreme ruler of the Omniverse, putting Kyle pretty solidly in the outerversal range of power. Not only that, but the life equation is also a pretty potent reality warping tool that Kyle can use to do many crazy things. I think at one point he even made his own source wall, but don't quote me on that. Now, there is a bit of debate on whether or not Kyle should get the life equation, but going by what Death Battle has done in the past, I do think they'll include it, even despite the fact that Kyle gave it up as it was driving him insane. As They have done the same for similar for characters in the past, like Spawn. Plus, if I recall correctly, Kyle can just call back the pieces of the life equation anytime he needs to, so I highly doubt they're going to ignore it. Kyle's speed is also just as insane as his incredible power. I mean, other Green Lanterns can fly across the DC universe in seconds, and when Kyle was a Green Lantern, he was able to keep up with the likes of Wally West Flash and Superman, the latter of whom could break the bonds of infinity by flying. Now, while I wouldn't say he's as fast as Wally at his best, I think comparing him to Superman is fair, giving Kyle immeasurable speeds at his best. So to recap, Kyle should be around Multiversal Plus to Outer Versal levels in terms of power, with Massively Faster Than Light Plus to immeasurable levels of speed. His hacks are also nothing to scoff at, as he has imagination-based energy constructs, which he's really good at given that he's a comic book artist, energy projection, flight, invisibility, phasing, energy absorption, transmutation, time manipulation, time travel, healing, matter manipulation, mind manipulation, pocket dimension manipulation, resurrection, conceptual manipulation, power amplification, as well as nullification of red, yellow, and orange lantern powers, emotion manipulation, crystal entrapment, avatar creation, reality warping, and life manipulation. Oh, and I didn't mention it, but he also resists mind manipulation, fear manipulation, rage manipulation, transmutation, possession, antimatter manipulation, illusion creation, biology manipulation, corruption, power nullification, greed manipulation, empathic manipulation, that is a very hard word to say when you're speaking really fast, and matter manipulation. So, all in all, Kyle is a beast. Originally starting out as a timid boy who found a mech deep underground, Simon the Digger is one of the strongest people on the planet. Nay, the universe. But you may be asking, well, how did he get so strong? Well, it's simple. He did it through the power of evolution. You see, Simon utilizes the power of spiral energy, which is, in layman's terms, the power of evolution. Using spiral power, he can overcome any obstacles in his way simply by willing it to be. At one point, he willed himself to win an instance where he had a 0% chance of winning by altering the probability with his spiral power. He won a battle he was not supposed to win. By the end of the series, Simon is a literal battery of spiral power, constantly producing an infinite amount of it, allowing him to do whatever he wants. While in his signature mech, Lagann, he can control technology, create weapons, regenerate lost body parts, create force fields, fly, combine with other mechs like GURREN, create black holes, manipulate probability, see invisible beings, perceive beings who exist on a higher plane of existence, warp reality, manipulate physics, matter, space, time, and even concepts, transmutate things, increase his size, manipulate biology, teleport, travel dimensions, absorb energy, negate durability with his probability manipulation, manipulate higher dimensions, bestow his power onto others, mimic other beings' powers, resurrect the dead, and negation of regeneration. Not to mention that he should be completely acausal after merging with every single version of him across the multiverse, and have higher dimensional existence as well as resist space and time manipulation, absorption, electricity, gravity and radiation manipulation, also mind manipulation. He can do all of this with his willpower and evolutionary abilities alone. Speaking of multiversal merging, Simon was capable of absorbing not only every single version of himself within the multiverse, but he was also capable of absorbing the multiversal labyrinth. Not only that, but in his fight with Anti-Spiral, he was capable of temporarily destroying all of existence. And this isn't even his maximum. He got stronger by the end of the series, and can always will himself to be as strong, if not stronger, than those he is fighting. But there is something I have yet to mention when talking about Simon. The Okoto Gurren Lagann drama CDs. These cheap pieces of polycarbonate plastic sold exclusively in Japan are Simon's best showing of power. Let me explain. Okay, in these CDs, the cast of Gurren Lagann live in a modern-day Japan equivalent, and Simone decides to create a manga based on their adventures in the main Gurren Lagann timeline. But instead of using the core drill he's so commonly associated with, he manifests his spiral power through his pen, creating an entire two-dimensional universe that he views as fiction, where everything he went through in the anime happens as well. This Simone's spiral power was also able to tie both his universe and the one he created together, allowing the Simone in the manuscript, who is called Garlock for some reason, to transcend his world and enter Simone's dimension via spatial teleportation, as well as being powered up by Simone's voice. To make a long story short, Simone ends up tearing the manuscript in half, creating a gateway between the dimensions, and he makes it so that in the manuscript, Garlock meets Kamina so that he can become a better person, hereby giving him plot manipulation. It's weird. But why do I bring this up? Well, since this is a case of reality over fiction transcendence, and every Simone in the infinite multiverse merges with our Simone, this would mean that our Simone would be several layers into Outerversal. Oh, also we find out that via these CDs, the Gurren Lagann cosmology can have up to 20 spatial dimensions. Yeah, I want to give a special thank you to the Carbonic Pikmin Versus blog. If you want to read the full blog, I will link it in the description. It does a much better job explaining this bullshit than I do, so give it a read. Now, of course, Death Battle could not use the reality over fiction stuff in this episode. And if that's the case, then Simone probably caps at around Hyperversal. Oh yeah, speed. Okay, so Gurren Lagann, and thus Simone, is capable of flying across multiple light years in a quick time frame and is comparable to Anti-Spiral, who transcended time and space. Not only that, but he has these probability missiles that hit at every single point in time, and Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann's Maelstrom Cannon can also hit at every single point in time, putting Simone at immeasurable speed. So to recap, Simone is Multiversal Plus to Hyperversal, arguably Outerversal with CD scaling, with massively faster than light plus to immeasurable speed, and missiles that can attack at every single point in time. He also has a crazy amount of hacks at his disposal, like supernatural willpower, enhanced evolution, technology control, weapon creation, regeneration, force field creation, flight, absorption, mech combination, black hole creation, probability manipulation, perception of invisible beings, perception of beings who exist on a higher plane of existence, reality warping, physics manipulation, matter manipulation, spatial manipulation, time manipulation, concept manipulation, transmutation, size alteration, biology manipulation, teleportation, dimension travel, durability negation via probability manipulation, higher dimensional manipulation, this power bestowal, power mimicry, resurrection, regeneration negation, as well as some resistances like spatial manipulation, time manipulation, absorption, electricity manipulation, gravity manipulation, radiation manipulation, and mind manipulation. He's probably got a lot more hacks, but this list is really friggin' long, and as you'll soon see, it won't matter much. Alright, this is where the fun begins. Between the both of them, Kyle should have the power advantage. Even when using the CD scaling, which is the highest scaling Simone can get, Kyle's cosmology blows Simone's out of the water. It is just significantly bigger, which would give Kyle his first edge on Simone. Speed, however, is a different story. While quantifiably Kyle should be faster, Simone also gains an edge with his probability missiles, which can attack at every point in time. But at the end of the day, both are still immeasurable, so it's safer to say that they tie in speed. But then we get to their hacks, and Simone kinda has this. I'll explain why. Okay, don't get me wrong, Kyle's hacks are nothing to scoff at, but just comparing the amount of hacks both characters have, Simone has a more varied set of abilities than Kyle. That being said, however, it's more about quality than quantity. So, which character has the better set of abilities? Right off the bat, we know that they can both warp reality, manipulate space, time, matter, concepts, and even transmutate things. But Kyle's reality warping should be better than Simone's, given the fact that he's most likely going to be given the life equation. However, Simone isn't entirely screwed. Remember, he can seemingly will himself to win fights where he has a 0% chance of winning. But then again, lanterns are capable of doing the same, or something similar at least, like when Hal overpowered the entity of willpower with his own willpower, and Kyle could do that with all the other Lantern Corps powers and animal avatar things. Now, the question is, which source of energy is better? Kyle's White Lantern powers or Simone's spiral power? And that is not really an easy question. But, in a general sense, I would have to say that Simone has an edge in this category. You see, despite the fact that Kyle has immense power, his lantern ring still has a finite amount of charge. Meanwhile, Simone is a living battery of infinite spiral power, meaning that Simone's energy reserves would always outlast Kyle's. Now, Kyle can always just recharge with a power battery or his blue lantern ring powers, but that would be time spent recharging and not fighting. And when fighting an opponent like Simone, who is just as fast and can attack at every point in time with probability missiles, that's not going to be very good for Kyle. And even if Kyle can absorb Simone's spiral energy, it's not going to matter because Simone has an infinite amount of the stuff. Plus, Simone can also absorb Kyle's energy and convert it to spiral energy. So, Simone wins. Is that it? Not exactly. Because I have failed to mention one thing that Kyle has that could absolutely destroy Simone. His emotional manipulation. Now, I'm not talking about some Minecraft movie chicken jockey bullshit where Kyle starts fake crying to lull Simone into a false sense of security. No. I'm talking about his ability to actually manipulate a person's emotions. Kyle can make you feel scared, angry, greedy. Any of the emotions that he can control, he can make you feel. And this one ability completely devastates Simone. Remember, spiral power is reliant on one's willpower. So if Kyle were to make Simone feel scared, he'd lose his willpower and thus lose his spiral power and his ability to evolve past his limits. And that's basically it. Simone has no counter to that. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that due to him breaking out of the multiverse of the labyrinth, he could potentially counter it, but that's more mind manipulation than anything else. Oh, yeah, and the life equation is Kyle's instant win button. He can literally just trap Simone in the source wall and the fight ends there. Unless we're bringing up the CD scaling, in which case Simone could potentially escape like Garlock did, but if not, Simone is basically screwed. So yeah, in the end, I'd probably give it to Kyle. He's much stronger, just as fast, and while he doesn't have as many hacks, his emotion manipulation should be enough to completely depower Simone. Plus, his reality warping should be better thanks to the life equation, and he could always just trap Simone in the source wall, which is just an instant win button. Yes, Simone does have his own advantages. His probability missiles can attack Kyle directly no matter what. He's got an infinite source of power while Kyle's is finite, and a wider set of abilities. But unless he's given CD scaling, he's got no way to counter the life equation, which is, again, Kyle's instant win button. Now, I'm not saying that this is definitively going to happen. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Simone does end up winning. I'm perfectly open to being wrong. But I am saying that Kyle is likely the one who is going to win. But what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe button, and ring the notification bell if you ever want to see more videos from me in the future. This video was a lot of fun to make, and if you want to see more prediction videos like it in the future, let me know by showing your support down below in the comments, or by liking and sharing the video. Follow me on my socials in the description below, and with all that in mind, I'll see you later, Cap Nation. Bye-bye!